Hello there and welcome back everybody, this is Mystic Games. Always lovely to have you all here. Today we're going to be talking Against the Storm. We have a new update, it's the Elder Update 1.6. I always kind of like to go over the patch notes with you guys for the games that I tend to play, which obviously this is a big one for me along with Northgard. So let's jump into it and to see what we have going on. So we have 3 new world events. We have a revamp and a rebalance of world events here. We have 3 new buildings for world events and more. But they also have the ability to find the beaver village in .age. Alright. Due to changes, the update for ongoing settlements will give you rewards, which is always nice. So I gotta log in and collect my rewards real quick, as I haven't been on yet since this is dropped. The Steam Winter Sale is going on. If you guys are looking to pick up Against the Storm, it will be on sale right now. This is like everything. If you just get the Against the Storm and you don't get the supporter pack and you pick up the DLC, it will be, I think, a little bit cheaper for you. So from here we got the special event, the First Elder, that you can now get, which is if you win before year 7, by fulfilling 200 service needs, you gain 12 packs of provisions, which I'm assuming is for the rest of the run because it has no limit. And then if you rush 2 dangerous forest glades, you gain a purring ally for 3 games, which you see our little purring buddy down here. I'm not sure what the purring little buddy does, but maybe it tells us. In this event, you'll either need to prepare for impending doom or prove to the elder the forest is safe. So succeeding in the latter will reward you a purring companion for the next 3 game cycles. This gives a resolve boost and reacts to your courser, so you can pet him. So you can actually click on him and it pets him, apparently. That's pretty cool. And it gives you a resolve boost. I wonder how much the resolve is, I guess. That'd be important to know. So then it just shows you the game that they're supporting here. Let's kind of get back into the patch notes for Against the Storm, though. So we have today's update is a bit smaller than usual. Seemed pretty decent, just from what I've read up above. Most notably, we're adding 3 new world map events and revamping several existing ones. That seems pretty big to me. I like world events being revamped because some of them seem really useful and then some don't seem good at all to me. First up, the new world events. As you may see in the intro article, we're collaborating with .age. Yep. The First Elder is directly inspired by Mattis from .age. This event also introduces a special reward, the Cat Ally, which will stay with you for 3 games. Both the resolve and crit chance of your villagers. Oh, so it actually does a crit chance, which I'm assuming is production chance, not an actual crit chance, because we don't have a physical attack here. In addition to the First Elder, we're adding 2 world events, the Blight-ridden Viceroy and the other ghost town. To learn more about the lore, okay, I just want to see the rewards. So we have Punish the Guild, win before 8 years ends after attacking 3 traitors, and you gain a blessing. It doesn't tell me what the blessing is. And then you join the Hunt, which is win after catching the spectral stag, which means you gain 10 fabric. That's actually pretty solid. As long as you can find the spectral stag, it looks like you gain 10 fabric for the rest of your games. And having 10 fabric, bonus fabric is always nice in the beginning of a match. So if you just have a permanent bonus to fabric, that's solid. Doesn't even matter what the blessing is. Hopefully they actually tell you what the blessing is if you curse over it when you're in the game, because that is important. Alright, so this update will bring balance changes and other changes, but as far as we go for reworking, for example, in the Somber Precisions event, a player will no longer have the option to give away 3 reserve embarkation points. Instead, they'll be tasked with hosting a funeral feast, win a game after solving the 3-part funeral feast event. In return, they'll receive a service building for the next 3 games, the Feast Hall. Okay. We're going to click on this to bring it up so you guys can see it and I can see it better. So the Feast Hall, the mourners gather in the Feast Hall as the funerary feast begins. Following tradition, the guests first partake in the meal, sharing stories and memories of their departed friends. And then you get a reward of a special building and a little bit of resolve. Doesn't tell me what the working effect is, though, unfortunately. Our goal with these changes is to make world events more exciting and varying. Yep, that's great. While experimenting with some new unique mechanics. There we go. At the same time, we wanted to address common concerns such as the lack of control and feedback in events that require certain goods at the end of the game. Previously, these goods could be unexpectedly consumed by production, rain engines, or other mechanics, causing players to fail the event without really knowing why. To fix this, we've changed these events to trigger an upfront payment instead. This change makes it easier to track progress and control the exact moment when you complete an event. Another example is the new Forsaken event, and in 1.5, its tuning felt a bit unfair, so we decided to rebalance it. For example, you will no longer start the game during the storm. Yeah, that would be nice. Never did the Forsaken Town event, didn't pop up in between me playing for me to actually give it a shot, but yeah, that would be, I could see that being difficult if you start off in storm before you can even prepare. Role events aren't the only focus of this update. We also took a closer look at cornerstones, buffing and revamping some of the weaker ones, and removing those that didn't offer any satisfying synergies. Additionally, we slightly improved the way cornerstones are drawn in each game to make more of them match the resources and needs present in specific runs. That will be interesting to see. I might have to play a game tonight just to see what they mean by this, because that seems weird to me, the way that's written. In the near future, we're planning on a bigger cornerstone rebalance, not just by boosting the numbers on the weaker ones, but also reworking some effects entirely and fine-tuning certain underlying game systems. We also aim to expand a new perk drawing system to include effects from traders, as well as rewards from events and orders. That said, we're approaching the changes a bit slower with more caution, yes, because we want to avoid making the game too linear and predictable, yes. Our ultimate goal is to reduce useless roles and rewards while staying true to the play the hand you are dealt philosophy that defines Against the Storm. Yes, it is an RNG-based game. I do think that there is room to make it slightly more linear and predictable, because I think there's enough variation right now where limiting that actually isn't going to hurt it too bad. But my biggest thing is there are perks that do not do anything. So, there are cornerstones and perks and stuff that you can find that really aren't helpful. And I would like to see them revamp some of the more useless cornerstones. Essentially just change them into something that's actually helpful in some way. There's a couple cornerstones that are very similar that don't need to exist, in my opinion. Finally, as with every update, there are a number of UI improvements, mainly tweaks. This time, bug fixes mostly related to issues with the DLC. I was going to say, I didn't really run into any problems with the DLC. It ran very good for me. Not too any issues at all that I can think of. They gave us a little Happy New Year's here. That's fantastic. With our humans, harpies, foxes, beavers, and frogs. And then we have a floating... Is that supposed to be like a raven in a mask? And then we have like a platypus, which is interesting. It'd be funny if we get those as new, species eventually. Although I think the next one we're going to get is the bat, because when they released the fox and the frog, the bat was the other choice, and we never got it. I could see them actually adding the bat to the game. I would like to see some sort of bear, too, that goes with the fishing. I think that'd be interesting. So anyways, here's our new content actually broken down. We already talked about the first Elder. These are the bonuses, which we already read about. So it adds 2 global resolve. Okay, so when you actually get the cat, you get 2 global resolve and increases the work of double yields by 5% for 5 games. Or for 3 games, sorry guys. 2 resolve and 5% double yield is nothing to scoff at right in the beginning of the game, because Depending on how far you are up the tree, your double yields are probably going to be at almost 15 to 20%, which is pretty good. You're pretty much going to almost always get the double yield. Or 1 out of 4 times you will get the double yield, which is still pretty good. Blight-ridden Viceroy. As your caravan across the kingdom's many nameless rivers, you encounter a hideous creature. Were it not for the tattered remains of the Viceroy's uniform, you might mistake it for the child of the forest afflicted with blight rot. It must have been cast out by its own people. It shuffles slowly towards you, begging for a chance to serve its beloved queen one last time. Win a game with Blight-ridden Viceroy effect. 2 Blight Raw assists appear every 45 raw and complex foods produced. If you do, all your starting caravans will get 20 pipes. That's pretty solid bonus. 20 pipes for the cycle is very helpful. And I feel like 2 Blight Rot assists with every 45 raw and complex food isn't super hard to fend off. It would be in the very beginning, but you just have to know that you're going to have to set up for this. Which generally you'll be able to do, because you're going to know what you need to do going into it. And you can also give away your Tarnished Necklace, and you will receive a Zeitin box for the rest of the cycle. At the beginning of clearance in year 2, a mysterious box will arrive in your settlement. Doesn't tell you what the box does, though, unfortunately. As you step out of the dense forest onto a vast, desolate plain, an eerie sight greets you. A ruined town shrouded in thick, clinging fog, and the distance ghastly figures draft aimlessly along the horizon as if searching for something. Suddenly, a few of them approach you. Distorted, echoing voices fill the air, recounting a grim tale of despair, a famine born of the Merchants Guild's insatiable greed. Well, that's unfortunate. Win before year 8 ends after attacking at least 3 traders. If you succeed, the cost of calling a trader to your settlement will be reduced by 0.25 for the duration of the cycle. That's actually a super good bonus, because calling the trader can be very helpful. It can also help you with increasing impatience when you want to increase it, and it lowers the amount of impatience you're going to gain, so you can call the trader more if you don't want to get impatience. So it works in both ways. I think the calling the trader is a super useful and interesting mechanic, because increasing impatience can sometimes help you, and sometimes it can be detrimental. So anything that kind of plays with that is kind of cool. Win the game after catching the spectral treasure stag on time. It will appear next to the ancient hearth and flee to the farthest dangerous or forbidden glade possible. Okay. That is very interesting. So I wonder how long it lasts. So the spectral stag will start next to your ancient hearth and then run. And then you need to cut to the farthest dangerous or forbidden glade that you possibly can to get to it, and then you need to complete the settlement to get 10 fabric. I don't know if that's worth it. That one, they might need to take a look at that one right now, because I feel like that's not strong enough. I feel like it would be better if this was like 5 fabric, 5 planks, and then like 5, like bricks or something. Like, honestly, you could probably even do 10, 10, and 10, and it wouldn't be broken, because I feel like the cutting through to get, I mean, it's going to depend on map generation, but generally to get to the farthest dangerous, you're probably going to cut through another dangerous or forbidden. Well, I shouldn't say dangerous or forbidden. You're going to cut through at least a dangerous, probably. If not a dangerous and maybe a couple small glades, and potentially 2 dangerous to get to the forbidden possible glade that you're going to need to get 10 fabric. I just don't know if 10 fabric for the cycle is even worth it for what you would have to do. Like, I feel like on harder difficulties, like if I got this right and I picked this choice, I'd probably play on a lower difficulty just to ensure that I was actually able to cut through the glades to get to it without losing. But if you're trying to do like a cycle run where you're just pumping out the highest difficulty that you can, like, I don't know, it seems very difficult, and that the reward just doesn't seem high enough to me. That's something I'll mention here. If they ever listen to my videos, my recommendation is it's probably going to need a buff, in my opinion. But I could be wrong. Someone might be like, nah, it doesn't need a buff, it's strong enough, but I just don't think it is. Add 3 new event-only buildings. The Flame Altar, a support building similar to the Beacon Torch, the Beacon Tower in the Sealed Forest, given to players for completing one of the options, the Cloaked Wanderer World of Map event. It has 2 tiers of abilities with 3 effects. You get 2 uses per game. It gain 35 fish, gain 35 salt. In all gathering camps produce 100% more goods for the duration of the season. That's pretty strong. If you're using a lot of gathering camps, that would be the option, because you'll probably gain more resources than just picking one of these. But if you're not really using gathering camps and maybe you're using more like, farms and fields, then one of these other options might be better. Both fish and salt are pretty useful resources. Prayers, you get 2 uses as well. Hostilities decreased by 100 for the duration of the season. It's alright. The Ancient Hearth's resistance to corruption increased by 1,000 for the duration of the season. That's alright as well. And Scouts work 50% faster on glades for the duration. This is pretty solid. It depends how many you're cutting into, but if you're going to do a couple glades, that's actually pretty solid. I think that's probably the most useful. The other 2 I feel like are you're losing and you need this to sustain yourself, which is generally not a good situation to be in. But yeah, I mean, this one is like, I'm losing, I'm not going to be able to survive the hostility, so I decrease it, and then I hope I can deal with it next season. If you can't, though, you're just in a worse situation because the hostility is going to increase, and then you're going to lose. So, the Ancient Hearth's a little less losing situation. I can see this being useful, but I still kind of feel the same way as I do about Prayer of Protection for that. But this one I like. I would use that. These ones are going to be dependent on what you're trying to do. Anyways, let's get back to it. Feast Hall, a service building where villagers can fulfill the need of treatment and brawling given to players for completing one of the options of the Somber Processions World Map event. It has 1 passive effect when staffed with 3 workers. Okay. Festive Mood. Villagers with their needs for species-specific housing met will gain an additional 2 resolve. That's actually a pretty nice bonus. To have 3 workers, you get 2 resolve on pretty much everybody, because you're going to want to have species-specific housing. Generally, most of the time, I don't even build the initial housing. I go right to species-specific, so I really like this bonus. Field Engineering Station, a production building used to produce enriched fuel for the Crashed Airship World Map event. Enriched fuel, charged rainwater, a volatile substance essential to powering advanced machinery made by combining rainwater and regular fuel. Oh, interesting. So balances. All world map events require to win while having an X amount of given resources will be redesigned. They now use a payment system. For example, in version 1.5, the Bankrupt Trader event would ask you to win a game with 250 amber in your warehouse by year 8. In 1.6, you will start the game with a pending payment of 250 amber to be paid before the end of year 8. That is actually not super hard to do by year 8. I feel like I'd have more difficulty trying to not win by year 8. Normally, though, having 250 amber would probably, unless I'm doing really, really well, I would say is not going to be happening probably till year 5 or 6. Most of the time when I start to like win, I'm at the end and I can just win the map. I just need to start like investing my resources and people better than I have been doing. So I would say that's usually around year 5 or 6. And then maybe I could see me going into year 7 just to stack the amber. So I think this is a very doable mission. Anyways, rebalance and revamp several world events. Both win with amber options are now payments. The first option now requires 100 amber before year 10 instead of 150 with no time limit. So you only have to pay 100 now? Oh, I'm super. Guys, I'm super confused. I just read that it cost 250, and now it's saying it cost 100. That's even easier because 100 is not that hard to obtain, especially if you have 10 years. That's super. I'm confused though because they used that as that option. I think they were showing a. Yeah, I'm lost. So they rebalanced it to make it lower. Oh, my Pokemon energy recharge, guys. Brass Order Engineers increased the time limit in the second option, upgrade 3 hearse, from 9 years to 10. From 15 crystallized dew to 20 crystallized dew. This is actually decently difficult. By year 10, probably not. But this is actually not super easy to achieve. This would be easier with frogs. Also, is 20 crystallized dew worth the hardship of getting this? That's my question. Definitely wasn't worth 15. Actually, that's not true. Crystallized dew is very useful if you're getting foxes. I could actually see this being a very useful perk to have in the beginning, is just to have starting crystallized dew. Just because this would make foxes way more productive. The issue is that's really the only reason you'd want this bonus. But 20 is fine. I mean, this really would be you want to use this every time with foxes. Cloaked Wanderer removed the first option entirely, giving the Wanderer 2 Wildfire Essences for 5 Seal Fragments, and replaced it with a new one, which is start the game with 1 Bloodflower clone in your settlement. Win while having at least 3 clones by the end, and you'll earn the Flame Altar Blueprint. A powerful building that grants temporary blessings for your next 3 games. Which we read above with, I think this was the altar. Yes, this was our altar right here, just so everyone knows. Bloodflowers kind of suck. I'd have to remember the exact amount that it takes away to give a fair analysis of this one, but I don't know if I'd want to deal with this. Although I will say the Flame Altar does seem pretty nice, but it is a blueprint as well, so you do have to build it, which costs resources. If it was like a free building that you could just build, I think it would be better. But I'm assuming it has a cost to building it, other than just the blueprint. So it may not be as strong as it appears. Still good though. I just don't know if dealing with a blood flower that has to spawn into 3 would be manageable. I mean, you're going to pretty much just make 1 blood flower and manage it and get rid of the rest until you're about to win. And then just let the other 2 spawn, I guess. That'd be the way you would handle it. But that seems like a lot of work. Like the whole time, just dealing with that the whole game. I think that would be like a headache more than enjoyable for myself. Remove both options entirely. Win with 300 Stormwater, give away 3 parts, and replace them with new ones. Provide fuel. Win the game after delivering 25 enriched fuel before the start of the drizzle in year 9. To allow you to produce enriched fuel, you will be given a new blueprint, the Field Engineering Station. If you succeed, all your starting caravans will gain the following goods for the duration of the cycle: 10 bricks and 30 flour, which are pretty useful items. Bricks are actually pretty useful. I think having extra planks is actually the best, in my opinion. Bricks and fabric don't seem to be as beneficial in the beginning, in my opinion. I think planks is the most beneficial of the 3 resources early on, and then bricks and fabric are kind of even. I would actually argue, I think most of the time fabric is usually a little bit nicer than bricks. Flour is always nice though, because it's used in a lot of food production. Start the game here without any fuel. Fuel from embarkation bonuses will be removed. That's fine. Upon winning, you'll be given the guild's sigil perk. Traders arrive 25% faster, and their perks and blueprints cost 25% less. Not bad. Perks costing 25% less is very nice. It's only for the next 3 games. I kind of wish for the next 3 games, or the next 2 games, or the next 1 game was just removed, and they just made everything a static perk for the cycle. I don't think events are common enough where you need to limit them. And if you think it's too powerful, just make this a 20 or make it a 15, and make this a 20 or make it a 15. You know what I mean? Just make it a little bit weaker, but make it consistent if you're going to go that route. I just don't like the fact that they do the next 3 games. I don't know. Events, to me, if it's not like a permanent buff, most of the time I don't even look at them. Lower the number of wildfire essences given to the player for picking the second option is now 2 instead of 3. Alright, these aren't very in-depth, so I'm not going to read these, but if you guys want to take a look at them, you may, because I'm just going to kind of go over them. Remove the first option entirely. Okay, so you start the game with a feast hall blueprint, build it, complete the stages of the funeral feast, win the game, and if you succeed, you will receive the feast hall blueprint for the next 3 games, service where they can fulfill their need for brawling and treatment. Okay. Added a new option that can appear randomly. Do it for free. Start the game here in a settlement funded by another viceroy with some pre-selected. Okay. Not sure what they're getting at there. Borrowed time will only be given later from the shadows. They removed Ancient Pact. Why? Ancient Pact, right, is the one where if you open a glade, you lose a guy, right? Is that what I'm thinking? That's a super nice cornerstone. Alright, anyways. City of Wonders changed the rarity of this cornerstone from legendary to epic. I would have to actually know what this is to see if that matters to me. City of Wonders. Nerf the drawback of this cornerstone from 600 impatience generation rate after year 9 to 500% after year 10. So this is just a buff. It just takes longer to get the negative, and the negative isn't as bad. Although the negative is still not good, like you're not going to want it. But honestly, if you haven't really won by year 9 or year 10, you're probably trying to achieve something else. And this is probably not worth taking in the first place. Increase the Hearth's resistance bonus from 150 to 300. That's nice. Increase the bonus to sacrifice burning time from 50% to 100%. So it doubles the sacrifice time. That's pretty nice. That's actually a pretty useful one now. I would actually consider taking that. If you ever... I don't need to sacrifice too often. As I said, I try not to put myself in a losing position, but sometimes you just get bad RNG. And this could actually help you if you're in a situation where you're just doing poorly. Again, though, you don't really want to be put into a situation, I guess, in the first place. But the bonus is actually, if I had nothing better, I would consider taking that. Lower the drawback of this cornerstone from 20% higher chance of double consumption to 15%. I like that. I always felt like this was too high for the workers' rations. I can't remember what the positive of this is, but I just remembered, I was like, I'm never going to take that because it was just too high. 15% makes me feel a little bit better about it. Lower the required amount of rainwater used in ranges to trigger the 10 amber reward from 50 to 40. That's a good way to make money. I like that. I never really thought that one was bad to begin with, but I can see 40 being more viable. Change how the drawback works, and now only lowers the number of charges in large nodes. I'd have to remember what this perk does for me to see if that's good. But most of the time you do want to open dangerous glades more than small glades if possible. So it's probably still not a good talent. Improvised tool, increase the amount of tools given to the player from 10 to 15, and from 15 to 24 in the Stormforge version. Alright, I like that one. I like getting 15 tools. That seems more useful. It should be bigger than the bonus from the lizards. Changed how certain cornerstones are drawn. Yearly, epic, and legendary. They now take in the biome that you're in. That's good to know. So you're not going to see things that generally aren't in the biome. More need-based perks now taking into account the species presence as well. That's super nice. So Okay, so I do like this. So they're kind of removing things that are not potentially helpful, right? Random RNG stuff that might be more present for one of the species and helpful for more, like a certain species. If that species isn't in your party, you won't see those perks. I actually do like that. Um, Slightly more consistency is nice. Please note that all cornerstones will be covered by this new system, partly because we're still working on them, and partly because we don't want to overdo it by limiting the RNG too much. Yeah, there's a lot of RNG in this game. I'm not too worried about that personally. I do like a level of consistency and giving me cornerstones that just don't help because the thing doesn't exist in the map is just bad. Like, I don't want to get something that's not going to help me, and it just takes away a choice that could be helpful or limits one of the choices I should be getting that could be helpful. I think every perk, like, the draw of the RNG should be every perk has a place to be played, and you need to pick the best possible option, but all three options should be viable. So if you get an option that doesn't help you because it doesn't exist on the map, and there's no way for you to incorporate it onto the map, like you don't have the building or something, removing it makes sense to me. My hope is that perks will only be removed if you don't have a way to produce it. So something like grain specialization shouldn't be removed from the tree if it's not in trees, veins, gathering nodes, or ponds, because if I have the small farm, I would still like to have access to that perk. So I hope that's taking that into account as well. As long as you have a building that produces it, should end up in the cornerstone tree, or at least the chance of getting it. In the future, we'll be extending this to other systems, most notably trader benefits and orders, to eliminate useless draws or to make them as rare as possible without making the game too tweaky. These guys are really worried about the RNG balance, and you don't need to worry about the RNG balance. As I said, everything should be helpful that you can draw, and you should be having to pick the best useful draws. With the trader, I can understand a little bit more because the trader, you can have up to 6 choices eventually, whereas cornerstones makes more sense because you only get like 3 every year. They're very limited comparatively to your trader. The trader, I can understand if they didn't want to play around with it as much, because I can understand giving the trader 6 good options and then you're like just rich. You're going to be able to buy every option. It's going to just make you insanely better. So having, kind of bad draws on the trader sometimes isn't a horrible thing. Whereas having with a cornerstone does feel bad because it limits one of the 3 potential choices. And I think that fits better with the cornerstones as a permanent buff, whereas the trader can be helpful, but normally at least 1 or 2 of the things is helpful, in my opinion. And I think that's enough. I've had Sothor gave me like 50 reduction in hostility, for example, and then I think he gave me drizzle and clearance duration extensions as 3 of the 6 choices, and I was like, this is great, and I bought 3. And the other 3 choices, like 2 of them just weren't that good for me, and then 1 was okay, and I think I bought it simply because I had the amber at the time. But I remember getting like 3 of those, and those were all good for me, and I was really happy with that. And I think that's enough. Like, being able to get 2 or 3 perks per the trader that are actually helpful is enough to make it feel good, because amber is limited, and especially early in the game, and therefore you can't always get all the perks anyways. Plus, not all the perks have to be helpful in the sense of the trader, whereas I think the yearly cornerstone, just due to the limit of how many you get, should really be helpful in some way, shape, or form. Anyways, sorry, that was a little bit of a rant there. Rebalance the settlement generation in the Forsaken Town world map events. Improve the glade opening algorithm. The number of open glades should now be a bit more consistent. That's interesting. Cornerstones are now generated after glades are discovered to avoid unnecessary condition triggers based on glades. The easy version of the Forsaken now starts in drizzle, the hard one in clearance, Increased a chance for waiting newcomers when starting a game. Change the way effects are drawn in the Cornerstone Forge and Ash and Thicket bonuses for species not present in a settlement. Alright, all these are pretty good things. UI improvements we're really not going to go into. I'm not interested in that. Bug fixes, I'm scrolling down a little bit. You guys can read them if you choose to. They updated the supporter pack, so might be worth investing some money in there. And that's it. So we read most of the stuff that I actually think was the balance changes and stuff. So yeah, cool patch. This went on a lot longer. They acted like this was a small patch. I actually feel like this was a pretty solid and large patch, to be completely honest, from everything I just read. I think they're trying to make the game a little bit more consistent, which I do appreciate. I think it is very RNG based, and I think that doing things that are going to make things more useful for everyone as you play will make the game more fun and keep people more interested. Getting really bad RNG, especially with cornerstones, just feels horrible. That's one of my biggest things in this game, is when you get a bad cornerstone like selection, it's just like, I have a year, I have to wait for this, and this is what I'm going to get. And if you don't have a reroll, it's just horrible. So them fixing some of that actually does sound good to me. As I said, the trader, not as big of a deal. World events, the biggest thing I would say to these guys, if they watch my videos, I'm a smaller YouTuber, but still, who knows? I'm actually getting views now, and I'm actually on the page. You can actually search for me and find me, which is just crazy. By the way, thank you everybody, for anyone that's made it to the end. Super appreciate all the subscribers I've been getting. We're growing pretty good at this point, and I'm at least searchable now. When you first make YouTube, you are not searchable. Like, they type your name. I could type my name and I could not find it. Now I actually type my name and I pop up, so that's pretty awesome. Anyways, thanks for everyone liking, subscribing, all that stuff. I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys enjoy the new patch and update for Against the Storm. I highly recommend anyone who is interested in this game watch some of my videos. Decide if you want to buy it. It's the winter sale right now, so it's a great time to pick up the game. And I hope you guys enjoy it. A little RNG heavy for anyone who hasn't played it, but it seems like they're trying to fix some of that to make it a little bit more, a little bit more consistency without ruining the game, which I think that's a good idea. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one, and have a wonderful day. Later, guys.